For years, the WNBA convinced itself that stability was guaranteed. The league believed its brightest stars were locked in, fueled by loyalty tradition and the comfort of staying in the US. The message was simple: this is home, and nobody's leaving. But beneath that confident exterior, pressure kept piling up quietly, steadily, and far faster than anyone inside the league wanted to admit. Players were already feeling the strain long before the public noticed anything was wrong. The pay gap between what athletes earned and what their bodies endured only grew more painful to ignore. Top-tier talent carried the weight of entire franchises, yet their earnings barely reflected their impact. And for mid-tier players, the numbers were even harsher, grinding through demanding schedules for salaries that often didn't match the cost of longevity in pro sports. Then came the schedule. Travel fatigue, back-to-back games, and constant physical toll reduced many careers to a narrow window of opportunity. Fans saw passion. Players felt exhaustion. Expectations kept rising while compensation stayed frozen. That combination created a quiet storm, one that only needed a small spark to turn into something bigger. At the same time, the fan environment grew more complicated. Social media amplified every moment, every hard foul, every misunderstanding. Some players felt judged before they ever had the chance to show who they were off the court. Others sensed that no matter how hard they worked, the league wasn't giving them the support or security that matched their effort. These early cracks didn't matter much at first, until they started lining up. Pay frustrations, demanding schedules, uneven marketing, and growing fan pressure all pointed toward a truth the league tried to overlook. The WNBA wasn't as secure as it seemed, and the safe future executives imagined was already starting to slip away. But the real shakeup was still coming, and it wouldn't come from inside the league at all. The quiet frustrations inside the WNBA were already building when something far bigger surfaced, something the league never saw coming. A new global competitor whispered about in private circles for months finally stepped into the light. Project B. And from the moment its numbers leaked, the entire landscape of women's basketball shifted. Project B isn't just another startup league trying to make noise. It's a fully funded global operation backed by investors who aren't afraid to swing big. Their opening offer alone made the WNBA's salary structure look prehistoric. Imagine a rookie or even an end-of-bench player walking into a minimum salary of $2 million. Not a dream scenario, not a maybe, but the baseline. Then add in equity shares, a move that turns players into owners with stakes in the league's future growth. Suddenly, athletes aren't just earning a paycheck, they're building generational wealth. The appeal goes beyond money. Project B is designed as an international product with a global circuit: Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and more. Players get top-tier accommodations, world-class training facilities, and the chance to build massive global followings. In a sport where marketing matters almost as much as performance, the idea of becoming an international icon is a powerful lure. And that's exactly why Project B is such a direct threat to the WNBA. It doesn't just offer more, it offers everything the WNBA can't match: higher salaries, equity, global exposure, and creative freedom. The moment these details hit the players' group chats and DMs, the reactions were immediate. Veterans saw a chance to finally earn what their careers deserve. Younger stars realized they no longer needed to grind through small contracts before making it. Even industry insiders privately admitted the WNBA wouldn't survive if Project B gained traction. The shock wasn't that players were interested. The shock was how many were already asking questions, calling agents, and checking availability. And once the financial comparison became public, the WNBA's problems went from manageable to irreversible. If there was ever a moment that exposed the WNBA's vulnerability, it was the brutal comparison between what players earn now and what Project B is prepared to hand them. In the WNBA, even the most elite athletes' faces of franchises, the players filling arenas and driving TV numbers top out somewhere between $90,000 and $250,000. That's the ceiling, the reward for being one of the best in the world. Project B didn't just raise that bar, it obliterated it. A minimum salary of $2 million instantly rewrites the value of every player in the sport. And that's just for newcomers. For established talents, all-stars, MVPs, generational scorers, the projections hit $5 million, $8 million, even $10 million plus. Suddenly, athletes who spent years fighting for incremental raises are staring at offers worth 40 times what they've been told their talent is worth. Loyalty can survive many things, but it can't survive math like that. Veteran players know this better than anyone. Angel McCoughtry didn't sugarcoat it. She called it exactly what it is: common sense. Why would anyone grind through a grueling WNBA schedule, risk injury, and sacrifice their prime years when another league offers life-changing money from the jump? Her tone wasn't bitter. It was honest, the kind of truth that only comes from someone who's watched the financial limits of the WNBA up close for nearly 2 decades. The reality is simple: women's basketball careers are short. Bodies wear down fast, injuries stack up. Most players get maybe 5 to 8 great years before their athletic peak fades. Missing out on millions during that window isn't just a bad financial decision, as it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity slipping through their hands. And when you factor in endorsements, equity, and global visibility, the decision becomes even clearer. Staying with the WNBA stops looking like loyalty and starts looking like a sacrifice no player should be asked to make. But the financial gap wasn't the only narrative collapsing. Another long-protected myth was about to fall apart next, and it would hit the WNBA in a place it always believed it had the advantage. For years, the WNBA leaned on one narrative to explain its modest salaries: players want to stay home. League officials repeated it, media echoed it, and fans accepted it. The idea was simple: American athletes supposedly preferred the comfort, stability, and familiarity of playing in the US, even if it meant earning far less than they could overseas. It sounded reasonable, until veteran players started telling the truth. Behind the scenes, many pros never bought into that storyline. Angel McCoughtry finally said what countless others whispered privately: that the whole stay-home narrative was BS, a negotiation tactic the league used to justify its financial limits. And once she said it out loud, everything clicked. Players weren't staying because they loved being home. They were staying because they had no other elite option in the States. The lack of alternatives was the real glue holding the WNBA together. And here's the twist the public never saw coming: overseas. Life isn't a burden at all for top players. Istanbul, Madrid, Shanghai. These aren't hardship posts. They're hubs of luxury culture and world-class treatment. McCoughtry described overseas life as vibrant, exciting, even glamorous. Great food, elite facilities, a fan base that treats players like superstars. Some athletes partied until sunrise after big wins, lived in high-end apartments, and enjoyed the kind of attention they never received in the US. Project B watched this myth crumble and moved quickly. They built a global league that combines overseas perks with NBA-level salaries. Suddenly, the old narrative collapsed. The idea that players want to stay in the US doesn't hold up when a new league offers millions, luxury travel, and worldwide visibility. And while the financial myths were breaking, another conflict was brewing, this time between players and the fans they depend on. Just as the financial conversations were heating up, the WNBA got hit with a different kind of problem, one that had nothing to do with money and everything to do with perception. Sophie Cunningham, known for her grit and physical play, made comments that instantly ignited backlash. She suggested fans often misjudge players, assuming that someone who plays aggressively must be nasty or difficult off the court. In her eyes, fans were confusing competitiveness with character. But the reaction wasn't what she expected. Instead of sparking understanding, her comments irritated a large part of the fan base. Viewers felt talked down to, as if their concerns were being brushed aside instead of acknowledged. Many fans argued they can tell the difference between hustle toughness and genuinely dirty play. They weren't accusing every physical player of being a bad person, they were reacting to specific plays and specific moments that crossed the line. Cunningham's broad statement, even if well-intentioned, made people feel misunderstood and dismissed. Beneath the surface, this wasn't just about one comment. It exposed a deeper tension between players and fans, a widening distrust that has been silently growing. Players feel scrutinized, judged harshly for moments taken out of context. Fans feel unheard, especially when legitimate criticism gets lumped together with unfair assumptions. And in a league still building its audience, that disconnect is dangerous. Timing made everything worse. The WNBA is already dealing with financial gaps, external competition, and pressure to keep its biggest stars. Public image matters more than ever. Yet here was a moment where, instead of bridging the gap with fans, the league's message seemed to divide them even further. And as the dust settled, it became clear this controversy wasn't isolated. It was part of a much larger internal struggle the league could no longer ignore. The fallout from Sophie Cunningham's comments revealed something bigger than a single disagreement. It exposed a growing divide inside the WNBA, one that's quietly been shaping the league's reputation for years. Fans and players simply don't see the game the same way anymore. What players view as intensity, effort, or competitive fire, many fans interpret as something very different: unnecessary hits, reckless contact, or moments that cross into questionable territory. And when those reactions clash, neither side feels fully understood. Cunningham tried to clarify that on-court aggression doesn't define who a player is off the court. To her, a hard foul or a heated moment isn't a reflection of personal character, it's the cost of competing in a tough league. But for fans watching from the outside, separating those two worlds isn't always easy. They see the highlight, the slow-motion replay, the social media clip shared 1,000 times. They react emotionally, and players often feel judged based on moments stripped of context. This disconnect becomes dangerous in a moment when the WNBA can't afford to lose trust. The league is already fighting to retain talent, increase salaries, and stay competitive against a billion-dollar challenger. A fractured relationship with the audience only adds more instability. Fans want transparency, respect, and acknowledgement when something looks off. Players want understanding, empathy, and the freedom to compete without being labeled. When controversies like this flare up, they do more than trend online. They deepen the cracks in a league already under pressure. Every misunderstanding, every defensive interview, every heated exchange chips away at the fragile balance the WNBA relies on to survive. And all of this tension is unfolding at the exact moment when the league's biggest stars are weighing offers that could reshape the future of women's basketball. The internal divide is real, and its consequences are about to surface in the most dramatic way yet. Every league has a defining figure, someone whose value stretches far beyond the box score. For the WNBA, that person is Caitlin Clark. Her arrival injected historic buzz, record ratings, sold-out arenas, and an entirely new wave of fans who'd never watched a women's game before. But that same impact now makes her the centerpiece of a crisis the league can't outrun. Project B knows exactly what she represents, and they're preparing an offer that could rewrite the economics of women's sports altogether. Early projections suggest their top star could earn $15 million to $25 million per year, not including bonuses, endorsements, or equity. That's not a raise. That's a redefinition of what a women's basketball superstar is worth, and it instantly places Clark at the center of a tug-of-war the WNBA is financially unprepared to fight. Her potential departure wouldn't be symbolic. It would be catastrophic. Ratings built around Clark's matchups gone. Sellouts driven by her fan base vanished. Sponsorships tied to her visibility suddenly questionable. She isn't just another player, she is the engine powering the league's current growth. Losing her wouldn't be a setback. It would be a seismic shockwave. And that's exactly why veteran players quietly admit the truth. The numbers make her exit almost guaranteed. They understand career economics. They've lived through years of limited salaries, tough schedules, and small margins. When someone offers 20 times your current earnings, the decision becomes painfully simple. Players see the math, agents see the branding potential. Overseas teams already pay far more than the WNBA. Now, a global league offering NBA-level money wants its first true icon, and Clark is the crown jewel. If she leaves, she won't just walk away from the WNBA. She'll open the door for everyone else. And that brings us to the ultimate question, the one the league hopes it never has to face. Once Project B's numbers leaked, the math stopped being a debate. It became destiny. When average players can secure $2 million and superstars command $10 million to $25 million plus equity, the WNBA loses the single piece of leverage it has always relied on: control of the domestic market. The league's long-held narratives crumble instantly. Loyalty, passion, staying close to home. None of that survives a financial gap this enormous. And that's where the real danger begins. Not with one superstar leaving, but with many. The WNBA has always assumed departures would happen one at a time, small enough to manage, slow enough to replace. But Project B doesn't want one player. It wants the top 20. It wants the scorers, the defenders, the personalities, the fan favorites. It wants the backbone of the league. And with salaries, this massive players don't need months to think about it, they need minutes. Veterans already see the writing on the wall. Mid-tier players who struggle to make six figures suddenly have life-changing options. Younger stars watching Clark's potential earnings explode realize they don't have to wait years to be paid what they're worth. The incentive is so overwhelming that leaving doesn't feel risky anymore. Staying does. If 2 or 3 stars walk away, the league can still survive the shock. But if a wave leaves, if an entire class of talent jumps at once, the WNBA faces a collapse, it cannot spin, hide, or outmarket. This isn't a slow erosion. It's a potential avalanche. Women's basketball is about to transform in a way no one imagined. The only question now, the one every player, agent, and executive is quietly asking, is simple: who jumps first? And how many will follow?